this last year, because of two different regulatory agencies that came in. This is more of a Department of Health piece with the cots. So it's the sheets that can only stay on the cots, like not, it's a great idea, because I know it's a storage issue, right? So it's not the stuffies and the blankets and everything else that can stay on the cot when it gets back to, so it's only the sheets. So like the stuffies and the other blankets and all that other stuff needs to be put in. We were actually gonna buy nylon bags. I don't know if we did that yet. But we will be buying, I just want to confirm this with education, yes? We okay, but we going to? Okay, that's just, no one to speak out of turn. We will be buying nylon bags for the kiddos to put their other stuff in, so that only the pots remain on there, they can put that in a closed container and hang it up in the cubby, because the other issue was that when they're in the cubbies, they touch other things, and, you know, what if you have headlights, and what if you have this map or the thing for cross-contamination? How do we protect that too? And that's really, it's in the name of cross-contamination and protection for health. So that's why the Department of Health manages that and oversees that. Any questions, any further questions or need for clarification on that? Okay. All right, so here we are. I'm assuming you might all get your certificates, I got most of them. But if you forgot to give me your BIS certificate, just please, tomorrow, first thing when you get back into work, just email it to me. You don't have to worry about printing it, sending it in our office or anything, just email it.
Right.
Okay, and if it's weird and you don't know how to email it, just ask one of your coworkers, or I can help you with that too. Sometimes the BIS certificates are tough. So with that being said, really what this is, and child licensing was right, is when we tell you what, basically really only what we need to tell you is our exposure plan. Well, the exposure plan is in the SOP, and I know how much you guys love me to read verbatim, so we're not gonna do that. What we're gonna really do is go over everything standard precautions that applies to Head Start specifically, and to help you not get caught up in a regulatory question when they come and ask you stuff too, to help you just kind of cement that information and lock it in. So it's hard because it's repetition, right? Sometimes you forget, that's just normal. So with that being said, that it is like almost time to get the heck out of here. I asked Christina to help me with delivering bars to the first question. I'll be the first person who gets it right. Because I only have 30 in here, of mini Laura bars. They do have lots of them, I just want to be aware and let everybody know that. With that being said, I do also want to call your attention to the health team, because this is kind of like their jurisdiction. So they're the ones that can help you with, you know, oh my gosh, I have vomit cleanup or fecal cleanup, or I have an outbreak, or I have this kiddo with this symptom. Really rely on them, because they have been here long enough to understand the reporting and what we're required to do and our support to you. So between Dee, Christina, and Diana, please rely on them. And if they're not there, ask them in class or direct it to me. I have no problem. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, whatever you need to get support for this specific part of health. Okay, because it does end up being more health related. The SOP also is going to be in your 2025-2026 e-file in the general drive for SOPs under health. That's where your exposure plan is. And basically, if any does have blood exposure, the first question to you is what is the typical scenario where you might get blood exposure from that you would have to report? That was done. I heard it first over there. I hope my hearing's right. All right, and I'm so sorry if I missed somebody, it's just my hearing. But that's why I have Christina helping. So anyway, with that said, if you are exposed, who is the first person you're supposed to report it to? Supervisor. Supervisor. Okay. Then your supervisor reports it on the internal SharePoint documents in risk management, and they report that for a possible exposure. So what you're provided to do, or what we need to tell you to do next, you don't have to, it's up to you, but it is definitely a precaution. We hope that you do that. We don't know if, you know, a child has any kind of, you know, bloodborne pathogen. We don't know that. We don't ask that. They don't have to share it. So what do? We assume everybody has something because that's what keeps us safe. So within 24 hours, we would encourage you strongly to get your Hep B vax. Okay, and that would be something that really is best in 24 hours to get that done. You do not have to get it, but it is a strong suggestion to do that if you were exposed, just to keep you safe. Okay, so that's really the biggest part of the exposure plan. Although I do want to touch on something else, and it has to do with child licensing being here. When you have a vomit, I'm going to talk about this in the questions, will be more fun in a second, I promise. When you have vomiting or fecal accidents, right, you do want to put those in a bag. I know that's what you do all the time, so you don't want to just like, woo, whip them into the garbage. You want to put stuff like that in a bag, and there's biohazard bags in your little kits, right? They're red bags. So you have extra biohazard bags that are available to you in various areas of your center, first aid kits, etc. So there should always be like a little red bag.
Some of those red bags in the bathroom.
Sure, absolutely. We have plenty of red bags. So please use them. What I wouldn't use those red bags for, because you will freak out the parents if you're giving them their clothes back. So you want to just use your normal bags that you do with that, obviously wrap them up, you know, we are not in charge of it, and you never want to do this and shake them out in the garbage, right? You want to just fold them all up, put them in a bag, do your thing and wash up. So you just want to make sure of that too. There is regulated and non-regulated waste, and that should have been in the video that you saw.
Yeah.
Does anybody recall what would be an example of non-regulated waste? Oh my gosh, did I stop you?
Yeah.
What?
Garbage.
Garbage is not regulated, but in terms of like care for your kids and like,
I'm just thinking of this. Yeah.
urine is not as non-regulated waste. Like, I'm thinking like, tissue, with a bloody tissue, right?
Yeah.
That's non-regulated. What would be regulated waste?
A lot of them.
Lots and lots, right? That would be when you call Ron or myself, you would want to put that like on the outside, and we would have to, because we don't have around a medical facility, we don't have people that automatically pick this up. So that would be something that we have to specifically call for. We do not have that. I don't expect the 25, 26 year to bring that. So we're just talking about regulated waste for in here. I'm not putting any intentions out there. All right. So click, please. Okay, here's where the fun starts. Click again, please. All right. So it's all recall. This is questions. I'm just gonna ask questions, so be prepared. This is like the last home stretch. I know you are all tired, but if you participate, you get to have a mini Laura bar. All right, so click one more time. All right, so why is how sick is too sick important for this population?
You determine if a child should stay or go.
Should I say it or should I go? Right? So basically, that's where you want to know, that's important, because a lot of times on there, sometimes there's something on the list, and it's basically kid can stay. Or sometimes there's something on the list, oh, kid has to go. So you really, really want to make sure, so thank you. Next, click, please. Who uses a how sick is too sick as a reference?
Oh, everybody do.
There's, you gotta help me, because there's gonna be a lot of questions. All right, next, please. What languages can you find this resource in? Yeah, pretty much all of them, that any parent preferred language, you can. It's a lot of different languages, so the resource is for everybody. So remember, when the health team and the FSCM team does orientations, you do orientations, but the health team is really gonna be responsible for making sure our families receive that reference in their preferred language. Okay. Is this found at your centers? So where is the document found at your centers?
And we're fine.
No, it's a brand new year. Everything is empty right now. See?
By your sign sheet.
By your science sheet? It's usually in their folder pocket.
But no, I need it.
Right. By your science sheet? That's good. So some people have them in lots of places, which is good. It's quite a, I mean, it's not a super lengthy document. I think it's like 4 pages or so, but it is updated every year in the health pockets.
That I have.
That you have, yeah. In most classrooms is in the health pocket. Okay, next slide. Okay, standard precautions, next click. What is the daily wellness log?
Oh.
The students deciding at this point, that was a lot of answers. So basically, it's what education reports every day for every child, to see if there's anything out of sync, right?
Yeah.
Where the child is in baseline. All right, next clip, please. Where do you find the infectious disease manual, May 2025? Anybody answer it? Did you hear? Well, not for these guys, it's the she tried for help, because nobody else can get in.
Is it the link at the bottom of the page? Is it the link at the bottom?
Okay. It's in the pocket, it's in their pocket, and that is a great reference, and I strongly encourage you, and granted, we do have a great health team, and I know you rely on them for a lot, you just go ask them questions, but if you couldn't get a hold of them, you could go in your classroom pocket and look it up, like, oh my gosh, what's scan for no. Oh, those 3 pockets by your. Yeah, oh, is that what you call it? Oh, okay. I don't. Okay. Okay, so sometimes we get some pocket shelves. Shelves. Yeah, the black ones.
We have pockets, we have shelves.
We have. Okay. I don't know, reading the preschool teacher, I should have better.
Okay, now I know what I'm looking for.
I have a question, for the daily wellness log. What happening with have a child that have like a, example, like a football. So we put it on the dog, and then we don't have to put it the next day, right? So we have to put it like a, keep coming with a black eye, or like a little scratch, not like a scratch on the arm. So we put it on Monday, he has a scratch on the arm. So we have to put it on Tuesday and we have to put it on.
Remember, use it as a baseline. That's a great question, Ms. Carmen. So use it as a baseline, meaning, say you have, let's just say the scratch, right? You notice the scratch, you look at it again the next day, it's the same, it hasn't gotten any worse, you record it, you're good. However, what if you notice this is starting to get inflamed? And it's starting to get pussy, and it's starting to, that triggers you the next day to record that, to call that health specialist to support you, whoever that is in for your center, and make sure that that's being addressed through that support for you. But that's why you look, right? Because you're looking to establish baseline. If it's a simple scratch, you're like, yeah, but if you all of a sudden you're having breakfast that morning at 9 o'clock and you're like, gosh, I looked at that yesterday and this looks worse. That's when, you want to record it, but then you want to escalate it, right?
Yeah, you can write it down by saying Carmen came in on Monday morning with a black eye. And then you just write it down, you have the date and everything, and then every day that he comes in or she comes in, you just realize it's not getting any better than you or whatever.
So does that make sense? It's really like that baseline, check out the child for safety and health. Is it a child that's still at baseline, everything A-okay? Yep, okay, pretty good. Is something getting worse? Oh, I need to escalate it. And sometimes it's also a record and documentation to make sure, like, hey, I saw this child come in with this before he got to school, so the parent doesn't go to you, right? Well, why did, Johnny have this? And it's like, no, I saw it. I noticed it and I put it right here. I did notice that, so he must have, somehow he must have gotten that the day before, the other day before, and he just, sometimes you don't notice stuff on your kids. That's perfectly normal too. All right, please, what defines an outbreak according to the health department? Health, you can't answer this. What about more than that? It's not your job. It's actually two or more, that triggers us to report it to the health department and they start watching it. Now, it doesn't, no number really defines an outbreak. That's a trick question, right? Because what they have to do is throw the epidemiological formulas on it to track it, and then they'll say we're an outbreak. Sometimes they won't say we're an outbreak.
Depends on the illness, but, you know, if it was five, and like you're fine, just, and start with start, even ahead of time, that's what I was saying earlier. I would,
Yes.
so, like, at one point, we were talking
At
about,
one point.
so at my centers, when I start to see that children are starting to get ill, they're in the same classroom, third classroom, 2, 3 kiddos with the same illness, I start talking to teachers and saying, hey, let's stop family style, let's cut back on it for a little bit, let's keep an eye on it, let's get this under control, and then we'll go back to family style. Because I report to the health department, and they say, no outbreak. But we want to keep the kiddos healthy, right? So we will do that. I will do that, and then we'll get back into it again, and we will wait like 2, 3 days, wait for it to get under control again, and then we go back to family style. And that's something that proactively we try to do at the center doing that, just to keep them healthy.
So the Board of Health will always want to know like 2 or more, they want to kind of get word. That's what we do as a rule of thumb. The reason why the health department loves Head Start so much is because we do that, we start implementing precautions. We have lived through way too many norovirus outbreaks, especially at Creekside, where we lived with them, and they seem to never go die and go into, they go to go on and on and on and on, and everybody's sick and it's awful. So really, this team has really learned how to be more preventive to make sure that we don't end up in an outbreak forever and ever and ever. But the Board of Health has gotten a little more, they don't want to do that to us. They want to kind of, they want to put it in motion and kick it in until it's like really super necessary at this point. But because we do so much preventive, they also they give us a little more wiggle room than I think other agencies.
Since Creekside's so small and we live in each other's hip pockets all day, that would probably be 2 for the center, not 2 for the classroom. Would that be correct?
They share a bathroom.
Yeah, because they share everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we had 2 reports in the center, then it would probably be different at Northland, because if they had 1 in a classroom and 1 in this classroom, would be a different story than 2 at Creekside, because of the fact that we live in the same space.
Yeah, the fact that you guys are so tight and you share a bathroom, it really is very close quarters. It's if you would imagine ever being on a submarine, like, like it's just, a nightmare. So yeah, so we're a little more precaution with Creekside too, because we also know you're one of the centers. Unfortunately, when you do get an outbreak, it takes a while to get out. So we're super preventive and precautious when it comes to that too. Okay, well, click. All right, who coordinates the well, we kind of gave you the answer. Who coordinates the outbreak reporting?
Diana.
Click next slide, please.
Diana does.
All right, so you have standard precautions, so make other tools available to you at your center that help you maintain standard precautions, meaning not cross-contaminating, keeping people healthy, have gloves. What else?
Sanitizing.
Sanitizing. Yeah,
Washing
the
toys.
standard precaution bag, et cetera, right? Okay,
Yeah.
click, next slide. What does Head Start use for cleaning and disinfecting? You have 2 things. And TB, yeah, okay, good job. Click. All right, there's your sanitizer and there's your TB. Okay, click. What needs to be labeled on the bottles with a Sharpie? What needs to be labeled? Let's start with sanitizer.
Your bottom.
Your bottom. It's that sticker, right? It's a sticker. So it's, and you need to label them in it, and what it cleans, like, so sanitizer, we know it doesn't go in the toileting area. It's like toys, tables, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and then going to label on the disinfectant, how many minutes? Okay, and toileting and that type of thing. So that way you want to make sure that it's like body fluids, toileting, that's what your disinfectant should for. Okay, good. Okay, who knows that we had a new vomit and fecal cleanup plan as of, I think, March of, or the spring, sometime in the spring of last year.
I don't have one.
Okay, we had, that's when the Board of Health or Department of Health rather came out with this new cleaning plan. Remember your blue arrow signs that we would post in the classroom? Get rid of those. Don't post those this year. Health will work with you on that. We also have a very specific way to do it. So let me give you a graphic that Health will give you. If you click, John, I hope if you click on the vomit picture, the vomit cleanup picture, that the graphic will come up. And you know what, don't worry about it because
It came up, it's just.
it just didn't come up on the screen. Okay, so let me kind of talk about it. Well, we can see if we can get it shown to you. Health specialists will give you your graphic to put up in place of that blue arrow graphic. So that will be the new graphic that we're using for this year, and it walks you through on how to clean up stuff, dispose of stuff, et cetera. Okay, and then for the plan is a little different graphic. So the plan needs to be for each center, and it needs to be specific to the center. And it needs to be hung up where all their licensing stuff is. So that way, when the Department of Health comes in and they do our inspection, they see that our plan is up and that we follow our plan. Okay?
Let me know the licensing board,
What's up?
on the licensing board.
Yeah, on that board, so they're gonna wanna look at it, and it's better to like standardize that, so that way everybody knows it just belongs there, so your health team will help you do that. They'll plasticize or laminate the graphic for you to hang up in your classrooms, just make sure that they are not using those arrows anymore, because that was from Tri-County, when Tri-County wasn't merged, so this is the new one that they came up with this spring of this year. And then they also want to make sure that we have a plan, meaning what sanitizer do we use, what disinfectant do we use, who's in charge of it. So one of the things that you'll read on the plan is that the CAs are the first ones, because they're mobile in the center, to help with that. If the health specialist is there, the health specialist will help with that, because of removing the children during a vomit. So like 25-foot radius, right? You need to clear the kids out of the classroom, you need to stay in the ratio, you need help. So call for help, because you need help on cleaning that up. All right, oh, there we go, thanks, John. So this is what the graphic looks like. It really just walks you through how do you know, what you do, you remove the children, how you clean, not hard, it tells you how to clean each surface. So if you scroll down, you can kind of see, and it really walks you through everything and what you're supposed to do by cleaning everything. Like if, the puppets from IY get soiled, how are you supposed to clean that? That would be something that, if that's a soft surface that can be laundered, that would be something you want to tell Monica about, because those puppets are not cheap. So you want to do your best to kind of clean stuff off and get them kind of sponge dry, wearing gloves, obviously wearing all your equipment. And then you're going to want to call Monica about washing that puppet. I know they're not cheap, so I know if we wash them and ruin them, that's a whole other issue. All right, so that's the graphic, and then the plan is a little bit different. The plan just goes into a little more detail, but in presence of, in sensitivity to time, let's just click on, you can see the plan when you get to in your center. There's not a lot more, if you guys know what that's about. It's, like I said, it's naming the people who are responsible, it's naming the disinfectant, it's naming the sanitizer, it's naming the center, it's naming the ed supervisor who's at that center. It's really just the plan in place, but it's pretty much a template too, so it walks you through everything as well. Okay, so who remembers testing their sanitizer last school year? Okay, good job. Nice. I see a lot of hands. All right, mostly CA hands, so that's a good thing because you guys know where all the test kits are and everything. When you test your sanitizer, they're gonna wanna know that you test it. What color, if you look up there, what color do you want the sanitizer to be? I heard it. 200. So you want it to be that kind of like olivey green color, not too super dark green, because it is too concentrated and it's really not gonna do the job because it's gonna sit on the surface and not evaporate, causing another issue if kids wipe it and with their hands, so you don't want that to happen either. And then, for your chemicals in your center, kind of like what Susan Flood talked about, where should they be stored? High, out of reach, inaccessible to kids, right? So click. Oh, who do you call when you want more stuff? Wait, let me rephrase that. Who do you call when you want more disinfectant or sanitizer? Yeah, nutrition. So you want to make sure to notify these guys. Kristen mostly is not gonna be at the centers, but Delmy and Katrina will be out at the back. We'll be out here centers. I'm sorry, this is starting to my mom is starting to close up. But you can also email Emily, text Emily, call Emily too, if it's later in the day, so that way she can make sure myself, and we'll put it in the kitchen to get it to you. All right, click these. If the child comes here, you're gonna walk me through the steps of first aid care, because there's something that you wanna make sure that you don't get exposed. Same thing with, if everybody knows. So somebody walk me through the steps. Buzz.
Have the child stop it while you.
Yeah, actually, Sandra, you said a very important point is, while you're waiting to get gloves on, sometimes it's a great measure to take a tissue, paper towel, whatever, provide that to the child to put on that cut, hold it there on their nose, hold it there, because children are perfectly capable of doing that. That buys you some time, right? To get gloved up, to do whatever you need to do, to then continue to giving the care to that child. Other than that, what do you do after? I mean, of course, you're gonna assume you're gonna get the Band-Aid, you're gonna put the Band-Aid on, shake up.
We have to wear gloves.
We take the gloves off.
You do, you know what, which states, and I know where you're going, Ron, is that all the Band-Aids are gonna be stuck in your gloves. It's, you know what, it's a skill. It's a skill to not have the Band-Aid stick to your glove, and I bet you, all of you have learned hacks over the years on how to do that, but definitely do wear gloves still, okay, because that is a standard precaution thing. And then, of course, you're gonna wash your hands. You're gonna take your gloves off, you're gonna wash your hands, dry your hands, and wash your hands well. Okay, click please. Okay, so when a health inspector comes in from the Department of Health, and the inspector asks you a question, can you be prepared to answer? So click, when and where is hand washing in your center required, and how do you wash your hands? Anybody remember being asked this by?
It's 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. So that it's like.
Hands first. Yep, hands first.
And so.
And so, let's go 20 seconds.
And then
You rinse them off, paper towel. Dry. What do you do with the paper towel before you throw it away? Yeah. Or if some of you have automatic faucets. Yeah, so you have automatic faucets, so that's easy. What temperature does the water need to be now at a minimum? 85. They lowered it. So I just wanted to let you guys know, Ron knows that, and he's taking care of that, but they did lower that temperature slightly. Just so you guys know. Spring, I think, I can't remember, but they did lower it a little bit. So just new parameters on there. When do you need to prohibit staff members from caring for children working with food? When they are sick. When they are sick. So, especially to vomiting or diarrhea. Now, I know diarrhea, vomiting people share because they're the baby. Yeah, it's there, it's not, nobody wants to go through. Sometimes diarrhea, people don't share. What I will tell you about diarrhea is, I love a big discussion, right? At the end of the day, what I will tell you about that though is everybody has a baseline. If you are out of your baseline in terms of people, right? If you are out and it's unusual for you, do not come in. Okay, so you have to be your best judgment of your health and your baseline. So I will just put that on your role to understand what that looks like for you and when you're sick. So certainly do not be preparing food in the center when you are sick. We want you to get better. We don't want you to transfer your illness. Okay, click please. What is the correct procedure for proper diapering? Kind of like hand washing in a way. You're just, or bloody nose or whatever. It's all those same components. So, and then what do you do for the diaper? Yeah, tie it up and then you can throw it. And really, it's in the garbage that is inaccessible for kids. Our garbages are not accessible for kids. So they're big and they can't, it's not like they're gonna get in them. They should be lidded, covered, so it should be inaccessible for a kid. Okay, click please. When to explore isolate children with symptoms of communicable disease? This is kind of a loaded question, so let me just kind of cover it again, sensitivity to time. So that is something your health team is there for to support you, but you also have resources like we have that infectious disease manual that's in there. If you have questions, if you can't reach your health team, reach me. But there are definite things in your SOP too. So if you go under the health folder in the G drive and you look under health and see staff exclusion, you'll see kid exclusion. So there's very specific things that kiddos should be excluded for and things that they don't have to be excluded for. Like for instance, if a child is diagnosed with strep throat and they're on antibiotics for 24 hours, they can come back. So, and that, I don't expect you guys to remember this. That's why there's references. That's why there's resources. That's why you also have your health team to support you because they can support you when you're busy taking care of 16 kids in your classroom.
I have a question. So you say after 24 hours, the child come back to school?
Yeah, once it's 24 hours from the first dose of the antibiotic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and remember, we had that big debate on PPI a while ago. Can the child stay? Can the child go? So again, if it seems vague to you or you need help in trying to understand what that looks like, you can certainly refer to your infectious disease manual. That gives you a lot of great information, but you can certainly rely on the health team because they support you while you're in ratio and while you're taking care of your kids to answer those questions for you and help you with that and call the parent. Okay. The other thing that we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna talk about documentation in 2 minutes. And we're gonna talk about it more, Marissa and I, with our team when we meet with you guys again. One of the things that I noticed is the MSCM's doing double work. So they record it in what you see here, right? Where everybody records the ROMs, and then they would re-record it in the case notes. That's gonna go away. However, can you click again? So one of the things that they will still continue to do as an SCM is you will still continue to do this. So this doesn't go away. The piece noting for you goes away. Okay, so you're not double documenting and you're putting all the information here. So really what this says is this comes directly from the Department of Health. So the reference is down here so you guys can read it too. But we must record certain things in order to not have a completely separate form to make us document 2 and 3 times. But it's really important that when we have the attendance line, if you don't get all of this information like this, of what, at least a when, and all the symptoms, then the Department of Health will make us basically record it on a very separate sheet. And we can't get away from this either. So we're trying to be thorough and record once, not multiple steps and multiple times. And then if you click again. So basically, then the health team will take over because then you're gonna copy and paste give it to your health specialist that this kid is sick, only the sick kids, obviously. Those will go to your health specialist. And then the health specialist, this is an example of a quick note that they need to. All right, so click one more time. No, oops, sorry, go back. My bad. All right, so basically the health specialist is recording in the case note these two things. All right, the action could be short and sweet, just like our child stayed home today due to vomiting last night. Child can return to school with no vomiting, fever 24 hours free of these symptoms on time 7/25. That's just an example. So as long as we have those two documented ways to record, it saves people from double recording, and it also keeps us in line with the Department of Health for that regulation. So that way we have all the information that we need according to our regulatory agency, and it's in there. And we can track, obviously, good for the child, good for the family, good for us. We can track everything, and it's in there for everybody to read. Right? If you had any questions. Okay, click please. Okay. My time. I know, I like chat. If you haven't given me the standard precautions, just make sure you email that to me. And thank you guys so much. I hope that this was knowledgeable and you guys learned something. Leslie, right on time.